Hello, how are you doing today? My name is Hans, and the lesson for this session today is a formula that I call the principal and interest rule. Okay. It's a financial strategy to create passive income, just like a little quick tidbit, right? So let's first define what principal and interest mean. Okay. So the principal is the first of importance. Okay. Let me take a look at my notes, all right? So the principle is the first in order of importance or the main, okay? It's the main thing. Keep the main thing the main thing, someone used to say, all right? The interest is a gain or appreciation, all right? A gain or appreciation, all right? Or profit, all right? So the interest comes out of the principal, right? So if you want to look at it this way, the principal interest equals whole and part. So the whole would be the circle, right? The part would be what comes from it. All right. Now, in financial terms, think about the money that you have in the bank. All right. The money that you're creating from your job, you're putting in a bank. That would be the principal. All right. So I'm going to give you the strategy that most wealthy individual, all wealthy individuals use to create growth for your principal, right? So the strategy is called grow and use, right? And so we as wealthy people, right, when we're creating wealth, the whole purpose of it, the whole purpose of this strategy is to turn your principal into an asset, which creates money for you. That's the purpose. All right. The purpose is to turn your principal into an asset which creates money for you. Okay. The vision is to continuously increase the principal of your money and allow it to appreciate over time and create interest. All right. So you want this to increase over time, right? And to create these little money babies. Okay. So these little money babies are coming out of that hole. Principal is the mother that you want to continuously grow. The interest is the babies that comes from this asset. All right. That you're building for yourself. All right. So the main goal is to grow the principal and use the interest. Okay. I'll say it again. The main goal is to grow the principal and use the interest. Now, remember the definition, it says first in order of importance. So let me ask you a question. What's more important, the principal or the interest? Right. I'm sure you answered that. The principal, the whole. So that's what you want to keep growing. And here's the problem that most people have, right? Instead of growing their principal, the main money that they have, they take away from it, right? They spend it, right? You don't want to spend the principal. You want it to grow, okay? You want to spend the interest, okay? That's what you want to spend. All right. In truth, you really don't want to spend that. You want to reinvest it in there so it grows more and more. But the whole point is that you want this to grow so that it creates this for you. And this is what we call passive income, the interest, because once you have the principal, right, you put it in a place for it to grow and you don't have to do anything for the interest anymore. That's the whole point of this thing. So now you're probably asking, well, how do you do that? Great question. All right. So the how, or the POA, I call it plan of action, is there's many ways to do this, right? So here's one way. Okay. You can open up what a lot of people call a Roth IRA, right? Now, Roth IRA it's an account where you can put your money in, where it sits and it grows over time. Now, this is a good way. This is not the best way, right? Because Roth IRA, I mean, you're going to get taxed either on the front or the end, right? You probably want to get taxed on the beginning part of it, the money you put in. That's the seed money, right? Rather than getting taxed at the end of it. But it really depends on, what you want, how you feel about it. Another thing you can create is another financial tool you can use to put your your whole in or your principal money in so that it can generate interest for you is a brokerage account. Okay. Brokerage. All right. So a brokerage account is kind of like a way to invest your money. Like if you want to invest in stocks and bonds, there's you find a brokerage, okay? And what happens is you can actually just put your money in the account without even investing in stocks or bonds, and your money is gaining interest over time. Now, depending on which account you're using, it can gain anywhere from 1% to 4% interest annually. Okay. That's big. All right. So that's another way to do that. Okay. And as you put money in it and it grows, right? Like I said, you don't want to touch the whole, right? As they give out dividends, which is your interest, as your account is appreciating, they pay dividends out, right, to your account. Some do it monthly, some do it yearly. Okay. So do your research, find out what works best for you. Okay. So another one is life insurance. Now, people think of life insurance as death insurance, but if you structure your policy correctly, it can actually be a nice financial tool that you can use to grow your money and protect it from taxation, right? So this is probably one of the best ones I would say to go with. Because what you can do is you can put your money in an account, in a policy, right? And the policy will grow over time. However, you can still borrow off of that policy, meaning that you can borrow, like take a policy loan, which the insurance company would give you, but your principal, right, the whole is still there. You haven't touched it. So it's still growing over time. However, you can still get cash and use it for what you need, right? I know that it's probably a little confusing, but I would suggest you should do your research and check it out. I have other videos that probably talk more about that and give you some resources. Okay. So the last one I would say is stocks. All right. So stocks are a great way. It depends on which stock and depends on how risky you want to be, because stocks can be good, stock can be bad, right? It really just depends on your level of knowledge, all right, on the stock market. But what you can do is you can buy stock, right? You can take the principal, buy stock, find companies that give out dividends, okay? That will help you to create this interest. And then that's the passive income, because the whole point is, right, is you want to grow this, right, and use this. You want to grow the principal and use the interest. Okay. So stocks, you put your money in a stock, right? And you let it sit, or you gain more stock, and that stock gives out dividends, right? And you live off the dividends. So the whole point of this strategy, this formula, is to help you think more like a wealthy individual. See, what we do is we don't spend this, we grow this multiple ways, right? And then we use this, the interest or the passive income or the profits that are gained from that. So this becomes an asset that creates money for us. And then we use that money either reinvesting, building, or, taking care of day-to-day expenses. Here's a quick example, right? Say you have $10,000, right? And you put it in, let's say, a brokerage, right? So you put 100% that 10,000 in brokerage, and that brokerage gives you about 4% annual. Okay. So off that 10,000, you're making 4% off of that annual. So the interest of that 10,000 is what? It would be 400. Okay. So you're making $400 annually from that 10,000. So this is all passive. right? Once you take this 10,000, you put it in that account, right? That account now, that 100% is given, that hole is not being touched, but it's creating 4%, which is that 400. Okay. Now, I'm pretty sure most of you guys can see how valuable that is. Okay. So let's say this, right? Let's say you have 100,000, right? Same thing. You get 100%. That's the principal, right? You built this to $100,000, right? Now you're still getting that 4%. So now think about it. Now annually, you're making what from that from that 100%, that $100,000? You know, you're this now annually, you're making 4,000, right? And this is dealing with compound interest, right? As your money grows, right, the interest is compounding, and you're getting more off of your money. Okay. So now let's say this. Let's say you're able to grow your principal to $1 million. Okay. Same thing. You get 100% off that. That's 4% off that million. Now, annually, how much are you getting off interest? Okay. $40,000. Okay. So you're making $40,000 passive, right? Not doing anything, just putting your money in a financial vehicle that's going to grow, right? You want your money to grow like this, right? This is how you want your money to grow. Okay. Most people do this with their money, right? And what's showing is they grow it, then they spend it, right? So the principal is grown, then they spend the principal. Then they grow it again and they spend it. Then they grow it again and they spend it. Then they grow it again and they spend it. Grow it. You don't want to do that, okay? That's not how the wealthy become wealthy, all right? That's not a wealthy mindset. What you want to do is you want to put your principal in a vehicle, right? A perpetual state of motion of increased growth. Okay. That's how you build wealth. Okay. You want it to grow over time, and eventually you want to be able to live off of the interest. So you want to have the principal to be enough to where the interest can take care of all of your day-to-day expenses for the rest of your life. Okay. And then, you don't want to just use that for expenses. You want to reinvest that money. You want to get to the point where that money is making enough money where you can take it and reinvest it. And it's just you're living off of your babies, the babies that your money's making. So your soldiers. So think of your money as your army, your soldiers, and they're working for you. Okay. And they're creating more soldiers for you to go out and work the battle, so that you're not working for money anymore. You're making money work for you. So hope that gives you something to think about, and talk to you later.